Welcome back, y'all. This is episode 4 Beyond the Surface. We getting back into a topic that we already talked about with the athlete burnout for our first episode.
That is true.
This time we got a very special guest, former Army wide receiver, transferred to U of A, Christian Paul. How you doing, my guy?
Doing very well. First of all, thank you guys for having me on here. I appreciate it a lot. As you guys said, just went to West Point, played a little football, basketball, track in my days. Not as much basketball as you two superstars, but have a little experience. So, like I said, I appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Mr. All-Star Athlete. No, I'm kidding. But so we're on the topic of athlete burnout. What does that actually mean to you?
That's a great question, and I think I would kind of relate it to just my life at the moment and things that burn me out right now. Some things that burn out just any individual, be just like even parents, they get burnt out on their kids, or people get burnt out on work. And I think it's the same thing, no matter how much fun you have playing a particular sport. At a certain time in our lives, if we take it, serious to a certain amount, all of us kind of wanted to take it to that next level. And I think once that spark kind of clicks, the sport, in a sense, becomes a little bit of a job. So I think that when it clicks and it turns into that, it's still fun for you. It's one thing, we all had fun playing in high school, college, and different things like that. But once it becomes that job aspect, like, hey, I need to get to the next level. When you are at the next level, okay, I want to go even further. Now it's taxing on you. It's a stressor. It's not just fun. So once that happens, I think that's when the burnout begins. Obviously, everybody has a timetable on when their own burnout is, but.
So when you say when it starts to become more of like a job, that's when you're thinking about beyond the sport. When you're thinking about more other important things that are relevant in your life. Yeah, I feel that, and that's kind of what we were trying to get at in the first episode, is having that mindset of thinking of other passions and thinking of other things that are relevant and important to you early. So that is the reason that you do burn out. That can be on a good track to a good future.
And I think that touches on it huge, because I think if put too much pressure on people too soon, then that job aspect could creep in too soon when kids are still trying to have fun with the sport. So I think that's a big point.
To go a little off topic for me, like, how do you feel about youth sports in general? Like, people are getting paid now. There's that whole aspect of, like, no matter what sport you're in, you can get paid. How do you feel about that entirely? Like,
obviously, I think it depends on the sport. It depends on the person. It depends on the level of expertise that the person who's training them has. Obviously, I'm an advocate for youth sports, but obviously, I see the danger in some sports, including football. I grew up playing football, and my mom cringed every time I got hit. But I could say there's a healthy balance. Obviously, I'm not here to press anybody who's waiting to go now. But I am an advocate that putting kids in sports it's a positive thing. But again, not to overdo it. Make sure that they're enjoying it all the time and they're doing what they want at the end of the day.
It's like a happy balance, and that's what we kind of went over on the first episode, was just like finding a balance and finding maybe other things too. Like, don't make it all about one sport, or even like all about just sports, because you never know what you could be interested in the long run.
100%.
Yeah. I can say for me personally, for the longest time, it was all hoops. It was all basketball. And it was like, I'm going to the league. And it's like, you can only say that for so long before you start to set in. Reality just sets in. So at that point, once you get there, you got to start, like you said, thinking about other things. What do you think is kind of like, what is going to be your model going forward? We know you have, 2 kids. So what's going to be your model in teaching them and guiding them and coaching them if they do decide to play sports? How are you going to navigate that?
I think that's a great question. I think it's deeper than just what I want. At the end of the day, I have to take into account that they might not be interested in the things that I want. Like, that's got to be the first realization, I think. There's a chance my kids don't like sports at all, So at the end of the day, if that's the case, I got to allow that to be the case. If they want to be a scientist or whatever, there's great things out there. So that's first and foremost. But as far as navigating specific sports, I think it's important not to put too much pressure too soon. I think kids see the NFL, kids see the NBA. You don't have to make them want to be in the NBA.
So you're not gonna be the AAU dad out there arguing with the refs?
No. As far as AAU goes, I think it's a good thing. But we all know the dads that are on the court. No, I don't want to have that look. I think that's about all kids, So.
That's a good one. No, but yeah, I understand as far as like different aspects of interest. Like, is there anything that now later in life, like after sports is over, that you find like, oh, I really enjoy this, and I never really thought about it?
Here and there, yeah. As far as like, you mean like professionally, like in my professional life, or just in my personal life?
Just in your personal life, like, or if it's something that goes with both, or something that you even want to speak about, because I know. For some of it, for me, it was like I wasn't a big reader. And now I actually like books, and I'm I want to learn about like gardening tips on how to make the best tulip you've ever seen. Right?
No, that's actually it's funny because my wife and I were actually just talking about I said my wife. You guys know Michelle.
Yeah.
But no, we were talking about like having a garden and stuff, and I don't know if it's a specific thing that I like doing, but I just have like more patience to do things. Like we did a puzzle the other day. I like Legos actually, like building Legos. So I don't think I was able to just take the time to just sit around and like, just work my mind on things like that. So I think that as far as just what I was able to get into when sports were no longer a thing, just being able to just calm down and do little things, bringing things, I don't know.
Yeah, like more brain teaser thing.
Exactly.
Game.
You said I don't know. I get a lot more time for me, and I get to enjoy sports on television. I don't know. It's the retired life's not as bad once you've been in it for a while, But I think that initial like shock to the system, like and I think we all went through it. Like you guys played basketball, and I think that initial shock to the system, like, dang, am I never going to play my sport again? It's like,
so that leads me to like, when you finally got to the point to where it was time to hang it up.
Yeah.
What was that transition like for you going into, the real world, basically?
Yeah, well, my situation's a little bit different. I won't get into it right now, but I just kind of stopped playing a little more abruptly. I thought I had a lot more time than I did, as probably most people do, no matter when you stop playing, but. Man, I would just say that I wasn't prepared, just because I think I had a certain talent, but obviously things got to fall into place. And when that came crashing down, I didn't know what I liked to do. You know what I'm saying? Like I think we're, especially in this day and age, we're in a space where people want to like what they're doing. Mm-hmm. And I'm just a person who I want to have a passion for what I'm doing, but I want to earn a specific income and do all these great things, but. So for me, it's like finding that thing. Like, what is it that I can like doing enough to go make the income that I want to do and do it every single day for the rest of my life? So I think I was in no man's land for a while, but once you just kind of stick to it, you find your way. I know I did. So
yeah, and that's kind of why we wanted to have this conversation, because like a lot of people are like us, we'll be in no man's land because you think like, oh, I'm going to the league, or at least worst case Euro or something, you know what I mean? And then you get to that point, and like I was telling him, like I didn't want to touch a basketball, I didn't even want to think about sports, and I'm like, so what do I do now? I don't want to be a couch surfer or like in my mind a bum. You know what I mean? I'm like just chilling the whole time, just chilling. That's all I got. Just finding the
more with your time. Yeah, dedicate a lot of energy and passion to sports, man. Your whole life. So it's like once that finally stops, it's like boom, and it's like you have to transition so abruptly. For a lot of people, it can be abrupt in general because, like you said, they haven't thought about what they like. Yeah, so one thing I gotta ask, man, is when it came to that point where you stopped playing, if you can go back to that time and tell yourself, some advice, what advice would you tell yourself?
I'll probably tell myself, if I had to go back to when I stopped playing, I would tell myself to let it be done. That's like the number one thing. And then also that it's like, it's okay that it's over, because like you think that you're going to be missing this whole piece of your life, and that like stops you from going to create the life. Obviously, if you got to go through it, you got to go through it. But I would say let it be done, because I think in my head, my mentality was for years, I think up until just a few years ago, telling myself like I could still find a way in and make it to the league, you know. And I think that stopped me from just going to find the next thing that could, you know, project me into, you know, my career, my life, and different things like that. So I think that's it. Yeah, just go let it be done.
That's interesting, because that's a much more personal approach. And how much personal more can you get than yourself?
Yeah.
But you're taking an approach like your health more so. Like think about like your emotional health more so. And that's big, because I feel like a lot of times when we want to go back in time, it's more professional and just career-wise and things of that nature. But that's a much more life approach and a bigger mindset of like, you have to have that first in order to move on to something else. You have to have that acceptance.
Yeah.
So,
and I think that's a big point that you touched on. You said that people like to, some people dwell on certain things on what they would have changed and done better. I don't think I would change anything, because I think if I focus on like changing what I would have done better, then that's still kind of that same mindset of like trying to grasp at straws. You know what I'm saying? So I would rather go and just tell myself like, let's move on and progress and grow. You know what I'm saying? So I don't think I would change anything about my playing time when I stopped or anything like that. But I think that's a good point you made.
Yeah, and I understand that, because I had the same, like, kind of similar mindset, but mine was more like I felt embarrassed almost to tell people that I wasn't playing anymore. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, I'm not doing that anymore. Like, and
people
you almost
thought you were going to the league.
Yeah. And like certain, like, it could be family members, friends, like just people that you meet along the journey of life, and they're like gassing you up, and you think like, oh man, if I see this person, then like, I'm not in the league, I didn't do anything. Like, you know what I mean? And sometimes that could be a dweller on like doing that aspect of like grasping at straws in the past. Like, oh, if I would have done a little bit more, I would have been D1, or I would have been I would have been at this school, or, you know, doing something a little different. And that kind of puts you in the negative mindset. So I can understand like getting past that, like not worrying about what other people think, not dwelling on the past, and just like, all right, it's over. Like, it's done. Next chapter, you know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, it was a big transition, because, you know, I was a hooper at heart, and, you know, once I stopped, I was like, well, I gotta put all my eggs into this basket, into this professional world. You know, it's time to actually go after something different and put all that energy that I had in the basketball into something else, which I had never done before. So, you know, I remember the call, like, to my best friend. We was both on the team together. Yeah. And I was like, yo, bro, like, I'm not gonna be doing this no more, bro. Like, I can't be waking up at 6 a.m. to run up the mountain. You know what I mean? Get like this amount of PT. Yeah. And yeah, so it was kind of abrupt, but for me, I would tell myself just to start thinking about your future down the road. And what to focus on now, and just stay focused. Like, you know, have a good time and you know, do what you do. You're young, but, you know, keep those aspirations in sight.
That's a good one.
Yeah, that is a good one. The aspirations in sight, definitely something to think about. But like, as far as dreams, but like you said going into pressure as well. And I mentioned, like I said, I felt like I was letting somebody else down. So at what point, since you have kids, do you think, like, even though they'll be good at something and you see they enjoy it, what do you think is going to be a good balance for you? I know it's probably going to be a difficult question, because nobody knows the answer to this.
No, that's a good question.
But like, yeah, what do you think is going to be the good balance between pushing and like letting them find out on their own more?
I think it starts out with, it's not in the sport itself. It's teaching them that when you do like something and you are passionate about it, that it takes an amount of work ethic to be the best at it. I think that kids decide on their own if they want to be good at it. and if they want to be good at it, then now you can tell them what it takes to be good at it. So now when they understand that, you are kind of gaining their permission. I mean, obviously they're your kids, but when it comes to pushing our kids, you kind of need a certain level of permission. So that's why, like, that "do you want to be great" question is a big one. You know, I think we've all been asked that. Well, this is what it takes, you know. So at a certain point, like, yes, we were all pushed, maybe a little too hard, if you will, to some people, but I think we all gave that consent and that permission to be pushed. And I think that's where it lies. And I got to just teach my kids that if you want to be the best at something, it takes a certain amount of work. And it's no different for sports, and this is what it takes. And then I have that permission to.
Especially because you've been there before, you've seen it. You've been through all the practices, all the drills, all that. And that's interesting because my dad would always tell me, he was like, "You want to be in the league, you got to practice." It's like, yo, I know. That's why I'm out on this court every day. But it's like when you go over there just chilling or minding your business, there's somebody out there getting better, and like
and that's like the Kobe quote, like the 10,000 hours to be a professional at something, or like you're that much better than the next person, and that could be in anything. You know what I mean? Like, I'm out there counting numbers. I'm the best accountant out here. 10,000 hours.
Well, we'll count 10,001 hours someday.
Exactly.
That's a real accountant talk right there. That's what you do right there. In case y'all didn't know, he's banking.
Good with numbers. I think it, like I said, it's a big deal. You gotta find that balance though with the kids, you know. And obviously, we all are in that predicament where when and if you guys have kids, we all love sports to the point we want our kids to love them too, but they can't want it. And you can't want it for them, you know. So if they don't want it, they don't want it. If they do, then boom, now you have that permission, and now you can go push
it
on
much
them.
better,
because you also don't want to be that dad or that parent that lives vicariously through your kids. Like, man, you know what I mean? Like, we all saw that too.
I almost had some names. I'm just playing. But
because we all seen that.
All right, now if I could ask you guys a question. Okay, so we all had a little bit different careers playing wise, all right? So X, I know you played in the college level, outside of the state, away from family, away from home. Leonard, you were closer to home, doing the same thing, right? We all reached that level of athlete burnout. So for someone who feels himself reaching that point, because when it comes down to it, we're reaching the burnout, but we're not losing our love for the sport. We still want to play, we just don't want to play. You know, which is unfortunate. Right, so when you are reaching that level of burnout, what would you say, X, you being away from home, and Leonard, you being close to the people you love, what would you say you would the steps you would take, or you would tell yourself or somebody in those shoes to take in that same predicament?
Me, like, being away from home, it would be more so, like, no matter what happens, the people love you. That's it. Like, it could be family, friends. Somebody out there loves you, and you're not alone. Like, I moved to a state that I didn't know anybody, not a soul. So at times you think, like, this is a culture shock. I don't know anyone here. I'm solo dolo. I gotta represent Arizona. Like, I'm out there, like, yelling it at the top of my lungs. But then, like, low key sad. Like, nobody else is here that I really know. Like, can I really trust these people? Can I really do any of that? And just know that, like, no matter what, you're loved, and it's not gonna be like, it sounds bad, but there is always an end to it. Eventually, you're gonna get to a point where either you're gonna get to, like, go home if you want to go home, or you're gonna get to where you love that place and that is your new home. You know what I mean? You'll find somewhere that brings you happiness, like, personally, and it's all about finding what the balance is.
That's a good answer.
Yeah, for me, for somebody that's staying close to home, I would say, that's a tough time. So when you're going through that transition, just try to keep people in your circle around you as much as possible. And as far as the burnout itself, reaching that to that point, I would tell that person that it's okay. Like I said, everything has a means to an end. Yeah. And just to make sure that you're not going to get stagnant, and that's the end of your future.
I get that.
Definitely just shift gears and start putting that energy into something else.
Oh, yeah. And I kind of dabbled in both sides, and I went to college away from home, and I transferred back home. And I think I would agree with both of you. It comes a lot. I think the burnout being away from home is a lot of missing people to kind of go through it with. Obviously, you have your brothers on your team. That's it's just a little bit different, though. At the end of the day, you go to your room, it's just you. And you're in a different place, and it's kind of harder to have that support, that undying support, from your family and friends and stuff like that. So that makes a lot of sense. And then Leonard, obviously, just being close to home, you have that support.
Yeah, I was like, I didn't have that. I'm sorry, man.
But I think at the end of the day, you still have. On the other end, everybody at home is not always as dedicated or focused as you are. Everybody doesn't have the same dreams as goals as you are. So the big thing is to stay focused.
I appreciate you coming on, man.
Of course. I appreciate you guys, and I just want to say, first of all, shout out to you guys flying me out. You didn't have to do that.
We found some little something that beyond the surface budget is.
But honestly, I really do appreciate you guys having me, honestly. It's been a pleasure, and it's a great experience just to be able to talk and speak my mind. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, definitely. We're going to have you on a couple other episodes. I know we got some more guests coming shortly.
Absolutely.
It's going to be a good time. Just be on the lookout for anything coming forward. You got anything else for us, Leo?
Man, y'all stay tuned. TikTok. I was gonna say Gmail.
TikTok, Gmail,
YouTube, Instagram. We on all that. Yeah.
And then, Poe, you got any words for us before we go? Last words?
I would just say everybody just keep growing. I think a lot of the time people stay stagnant. I would say keep growing. Now, that's not even talking about sports. That's just talking about in life. Just keep growing. Keep learning things. Keep growing. Becoming a better person. Best version of yourself.
You heard it here. Better person for yourself.
Thanks, guys.
Better
Appreciate
version.
you.
Progress. Peace.